Aerodyne's drone solution are already revolutionizing sectors like agriculture, infrastructure, and energy. So this question is definitely for Dr. Sean. So how is drone technology contributing to sustainable infrastructure development, and what role do cities like Cyberjaya play in scaling and testing such solutions?
Right. Thank you, and a very apt question. Thank you for the introduction of Aerodyne as well. And of course, I think before I start, I want to give a shout out to Cyberview because on top of what Kamarul just mentioned, they've actually provided Aerodyne with a very strong foundational base for us to actually grow globally as well. And I want to quote one or two examples, and then I'll go into some case studies of how we are supporting sustainability agendas globally. I think number one, first and foremost, is you look at the ecosystem that they bring along with that. Within Cyberjaya, you have Turkish Aerospace Association, which we work with also at the same time. We have Dell Technologies. I think the fact that there is a strategic idea and strategic move behind bringing in certain aspects of the industries, high-tech industries, into Cyberjaya has been very beneficial to be ecosystem players like people like us, because we get access to the ecosystem, we get access to collaboration, we get to intermingle and system integrate our technologies to form higher end value chain products down the line as well. And not only that, I think a very important part is they're very inclusive of the way they include all their local startups, their local players within Cyberjaya to be able to actually talk together. And I think we shouldn't underestimate the importance of being able to talk together and to collaborate together. And that's number one. And then number two, if you thank you for the shout out that, of course, as a Malaysian startup, we're very proud that we are number one drone service company in the world. But that doesn't come without significant support within country as well. So one of them is also regulations, and I think this is where Cyberview together with Aerodyne has played a very important role to shape regulations. For your information, regulations for flying drones in Malaysian airspace is not so straightforward. It's highly regulated, not so simple. We have Civil Aviation Authority. And thanks to that joint initiative to understand the value of this high-tech industry, certain parts of Cyberjaya has already been audited to be able to fly drones as a test bed. And because of that, we are able to advance many use cases, of which I want to talk about two major use cases, right? We do a lot of drones for inspection, national infrastructure, TNB power lines, telco towers. But I want to pick two that are very important that is shaping up and supporting the sustainability agenda, especially impact of climate change. The first one I will talk about is aviation, offshore logistics. On top of doing inspection, we also use drones for transportation. I think everyone knows that drone and transportation are one and the same. But we don't use drones to deliver your roti canai via Foodpanda, right? There's no money in that. There's very hard. Nobody's going to pay 15 ringgit for their roti canai to be delivered to your house. But what we actually do is we disrupt the way offshore logistics is being done. Now, I used to be ex-Petronas once upon a time. I was involved in offshore operations at one time. Fun fact, 8% of all helicopter operations in Southeast Asia fly to an oil and gas rig offshore, and we have 1,400 oil and gas rigs offshore with a nearly empty helicopter. Why? Emergency food, emergency medicine. Or there's a shutdown of an oil and gas well that's producing 10,000 barrels of oil per day, and they just need that little bolt that is only unique to the offshore platform. There's none in the supply base, and there is none in the offshore platform. They have to collect it from supply base, and I need it now. 8% of this, and this is a $1.4 billion industry. And can you imagine the helicopter emissions is not small, it's very big. In fact, flying a empty helicopter for a sub 20 kilogram payload is something that's not sustainable. It is costing Petronas very precious carbon credits, and we are supporting them by electrification through the use of drones for logistics. That's number one. Second one, we talk about climate change. If you've seen in January this year, one of the biggest headlining things of this year, and has reoccurred again as we speak right now, is global bushfires, right? Because of temperature increase and of course temperature decrease in certain areas, the climate has changed. California has actually experienced one of the worst bushfires in the world in January. In 2 weeks, $100 billion in assets were wiped out. This right now, as we speak, Spain and Italy are being wiped out by bushfires, most severe bushfires ever. Last year alone, they lost $20 billion in assets, including Australia as well. It's no small problem, right? Climate change is real. Anyone who tells you otherwise probably needs a bit of re-education. But Nonetheless, what we're doing is we're deploying drones over there. Why? How do drones play a very pivotal role? So last time when Aerodyne first started, we were solving industrial problems, geospatial problems. Today, thanks to the growth of our fellow ecosystem players, we're solving national problems. Bushfire is one of them. I'll give you an example. Do you know that until today, bushfire is still monitored by flying helicopters with a pilot through the thick smoke to say, hey, there's a fire down on 4th Street or 4th Avenue. That's how they do it until today.
That's dangerous, right?
It's very dangerous. They have to fly through smoke, and because there's a pilot, the pilot will also have to balance his safety, personal safety as well. He may not fly through certain areas and may lack visibility on certain areas because he just isn't going to risk his life. Plus, the helicopter is better off firefighting rather than to monitor the fire, right? You lose precious resources on the field. So if you said, Sean, we have satellites today. Satellites take 6 to 12 hours before they return any real-time data, real-time out of the picture. So drones fill in this picture, this gap over here to actually monitor and manage where the real-time connectivity, real-time situational awareness of where bushfires are. Drones are also specially equipped with a very unique sensor that before the fire occurs, it can scan over the vegetation in the outskirt areas to track for dryness index because there is fuel loading for fires to occur. So you move from you move from reactive, you move to preventive. You cut the bushes before fire season actually starts. And this is where we play a role with a lot of cities. So we're working with the Catalan state government in Barcelona, we're working with Calabria in Italy, we're working in New South Wales. And of course, most recently, we're working with Chiang Mai, our northern neighbors, and also Sarawak State Department for these kind of things. And this is some of the many use cases that we've been successfully deploying and in the midst of deploying to support sustainability agendas, solving national problems, supporting cities advancing their infrastructure to become more smart, more preventive rather than reactive, and at the same time solving national problems of billion-dollar asset losses, right? We're talking about it. So it's a win-win-win across all boards. These kind of business models that we are focusing on that help the planet, people, planet, and profit at the same time. Very aptly put, right?
Very interesting.